evening. I'm Richard Bay. Imagine this, if you will, an inner-city school where there are no drugs, no dropouts, no gangs, where students don't even smoke in the bathroom. A school where half the kids come from poor families, but almost all of them go on to college without having to worry about finding the money for tuition or room and board, books, clothing. Now, this is not a school from behind the Iron Curtain. It's not from the pages of a Hollywood fantasy. This is a school that exists in the here and now, right here in New York City. Now, for the past 6 months, Channel 9 has been bringing you their A+ for Kids format. Tonight, we're going to bring you a special that I know is going to move you, one that you're not going to want to miss. It's a spotlight on what's right in our schools, on what works, not on what doesn't work. For the next 2 hours, join us as we profile the schools that work against the odds, and as we dissect those schools with our panel of parents, teachers, students, and educators. Now, what makes a good school good? We begin tonight with Rollins Smith in Harlem, with one school that works against the odds.
I believe that they can learn, that they will learn, they must learn.
Our motto is reach for the stars. That's what we always aim for.
Here in the heart of Harlem is the A.Philip Randolph High School. It is a school that fights back against the odds that surround it. In a neighborhood where graffiti grows and grows, there is none on this school. This is a school where growth comes from children and their dreams. City College of New York President, Dr. Bernard Harrelson.
So yes, the school contributes greatly to the shaping of dreams, to the defining of dreams, to the strengthening of dreams, and to having dreams come true. And that is the mission. High achievement, demonstrating that students coming from minority communities could function well in a high school setting if they had the proper supports.
9 years ago, A.Philip Randolph High was begun as a cooperative effort of the City College of New York and the Board of Education. The school was even known as Campus High. It sits on the CUNY campus. It was created out of frustration and fear. The frustration was with the poor quality of high school graduates entering City College through an open admissions policy. The fear was for the future of the next generation of American students whose basic skills were so poor they would not be welcome in the workplace. A.Philip Randolph was an experiment aimed at solving those problems. It was a living laboratory for research.
I think it succeeds because these young people get a lot of attention, and we all know that that's exactly how they make it work.
The experiment did work. A.Philip Randolph was named by the Reagan administration as one of 7 model high schools in the country. 9 out of every 10 students are accepted into competitive 4-year colleges. Test scores are extraordinarily high, not just among the best in New York, but in the top 5% of the country. And almost all of the school's 1,500 students are black or Hispanic. Half of them come from poor families, and many come from broken homes. Yet, when they walk through the doors of Randolph High, every student is treated equally and expected to excel. And it all started with a woman and a vision.
I feel that I would want no one to divide us, that we have a single purpose when we walk across the door of A.Philip Randolph Campus High School. Good morning. Excuse me, son, where you going? Where's your class?
Miss Baker.
Miss Baker, ma'am, let's move so you won't be late.
Lottie Taylor, principal of Randolph High since 1981. When Taylor first walked through these halls, the school was failing in every way. There was no viable curriculum. There were no educational goals or objectives. There were no records, and it showed. Students were hostile, so were teachers and parents. Her mandate became her mission, to turn this school around, and she believes in her vision so deeply, it's almost a religion for her. Her disciples are her students, and they spread the word.
Miss Taylor is she's like the symbol of our school.
She's made me settle for nothing but the best.
Miss Taylor's sort of like the lighthouse.
She makes it clear to those kids that she believes in them, Those teachers better believe in them, the counselors better believe in them, and they better believe in themselves.
What's the problem?
And they better believe in adhering to the rules, too. Here at A.Philip Randolph, it's her way or the highway. And if it's her way, it means students had better get to school on time. One way Mrs. Taylor keeps a check on attendance is through this computerized wake-up call system. It is automatically programmed to dial the homes of consistently tardy students as early as 6 each morning.
Good morning. This is Mrs. Taylor, your principal. This is your wake-up call to remind you that you have a date at 8, so don't be late. Off to A.Philip Randolph Campus High School.
Since the wake-up calls were begun in 1984, attendance has significantly improved. Today it stands at more than 90%, about 5% better than at most other city schools. It's all part of Lottie Taylor's hard-line approach to education: rules, regulations, and regimentation.
I happen to believe that adolescents need organization and structure whenever it can be provided for them, because they're going through so many changes internally, and they have so many thoughts and so many other problems. They tend to wander and daydream, and I think the organization and the structure compensates and helps to keep them on track.
When Mrs. Taylor comes upon a student who's late for gym class, she lets him know who's in charge.
So you were getting in there too late. He didn't have time just to wait for you to change. You should have been there on time.
I believe that we have an obligation to let youngsters know, as well as the parents, what the rules and the regulations are, why we have those rules and regulations.
It's a philosophy of which Mrs. Taylor constantly reminds her staff as well.
You have a handbook. You know what the rules are. I don't deviate from that. I don't want Nick, Jerry, Joan, or anybody else to supersede that. Otherwise, you're going to lose your school, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be gone, and you'll be suffering with them, fighting, whatever. So stay consistent. Implement the rules. Keep the upper hand, because kids are kids. Yeah.
But the kids here at Randolph learn more than just rules. Take this gym class, for instance, part of Mrs. Taylor's pet program called Project Adventure. It's a kind of outward bound for inner city kids. Here the kids learn values such as trust, teamwork, and self-confidence by working with one another through an obstacle course, climbing, swinging, and pushing their way towards their goal.
This is about trustworthy, teamwork, togetherness. It's just a class where everybody is united as one.
This course, it gives you a sense of teamwork. You feel that you can rely on your other classmates, and it gives you confidence in your peers.
Okay, Alex, hand the rope to come down.
Gym teacher Ted Dorsett helps build that confidence.
It pushes you to your limit, and that's what everybody has to do. They have to push themselves to the limit to see exactly how far they can go. The whole idea with the adventure part of all of this stuff is that it should have carryover value into your other subjects and into later life.
But even Dorsett has his doubts about this boot camp mentality. It seems to work for many, but does it work for all?
She pushes these kids real hard, real hard. And, a lot of students that come in, some are above average, a lot are average, some are below average as far as grades go, and they're bombarded here. They're bombarded. When they leave, I think it was, for some of them, it's a good experience. For some of them, they're burnt out at the end.
I'm not able to respond to that because it doesn't sound like a truthful, let alone likely comment for this school. I think that there are no limits, and I don't know what pushing too hard and not making it is.
Listen, these kids have it in them. They know what the expectations are. And the fact that she had to go to summer school and she had to struggle was good for her.
And while some debate her methods, few can quarrel with the result. According to Mrs. Taylor, the average SAT score among Randolph students is 1,100. That's nearly 200 points above the national average, and more than 300 points above the national average for most blacks and Hispanics. Here, when the staff talks to students about going to college, it's when, not if. 95% of the seniors are accepted into college, almost half into Ivy League schools, and almost all get into 3 or more colleges. Dr. Harleston of City College.
That is an incredible statement, just in and of itself. And the breadth of colleges to which they've been accepted, that's been expanding. And the competition among the colleges to get the students has been increasing.
To those students who do get into college, Mrs. Taylor has a simple guarantee. No student will ever have to pass up higher education because they don't have the money.
Between the financial aid resources, their Regent Scholarship resources, and other scholarship monies, all of our youngsters who require assistance to go to college have had what they needed.
Mrs. Taylor's fundraising efforts go far beyond finding scholarships. She even solicits money to make sure her college-bound seniors look the part as well.
It isn't a matter of just preparing him academically. I want to make sure they have the appropriate clothing, that they have those things that they need so they won't feel when they go there that they don't have everything else everyone else has. So we have grants and we provide that for them. I'll get it added for a clothing grant.
It's Mrs. Taylor's compassionate side that helps set the tone in this school. While she may run Randolph with an iron fist, she knows when to use a velvet glove. Watch what happens when a student comes into her office crying about having been kicked off the volleyball team unfairly.
And this just happened?
Yeah.
And they took back your uniform? And she said you couldn't get back on the team or anything?
And she didn't even see me.
Okay, have you ever had any difficulty before? No? Okay, when's the team practicing?
Every day after school.
Now?
Yeah.
All right, well, let me have someone look into it. And I want you to see Miss Aquanet Hurd. I'm going to call her now. And I want you to talk to her and tell her the story. Let's see if we can get it straightened out, okay? Miss Aquanet Purnell Hurd, please call the principal's office. Miss Hurd, please call the principal's office. Thank you.
And later, when Mrs. Taylor happens upon a student complaining of dizzy spells, she promises to get her help. The girl got hit in the head with a ball and has missed school for the past 2 days.
Did you go back to the doctor?
No, I didn't go to, my mother didn't take me to the doctor. I guess from the hard hit of the ball, I kept getting dizzy and headaches, and I can't read or nothing without my glasses.
As the student describes her problem, Mrs. Taylor listens intently. Then she decides on an immediate course of action.
Now you don't have a doctor's note, so you're still getting dizzy?
Yes, I have a note.
And you haven't been to the doctor yet?
No.
I'm going to get you a medical examination. Wait 1 minute, okay? Tell him I have a case of a young lady who hasn't been to the doctor, who's been hit by a ball. She has a scar. She's complaining of dizzy. I think she might have a small concussion. Let's see if we get doctors over here to examine her. Okay.
While most of Mrs. Taylor's teens have many typical teenage problems, other problems here surprisingly are absent. Drugs are not a problem, even though they are everywhere in the community that surrounds the school. There are no gangs here. You won't even find students smoking in the bathroom. And remarkably, this school has virtually no dropouts. This in a city where some estimates say that half of all black students and 7 out of 10 Hispanic students drop out of school. But here at Randolph, failure is not an option as long as Lottie Taylor is in charge.
I just don't believe there's such a thing as can't. I believe we can do what we want to do. And how well we do it will depend on how committed we are to doing it in the first place. As long as I am principal, I'm going to continue to guarantee success to the children that I recruit.
Lottie Taylor expects a lot out of her students, and it does seem as if she gets it. In the field of education, she hasn't met an obstacle yet that she hasn't been able to overcome. She has met an obstacle today, though, that has proved difficult for her to overcome. We expect her as a guest this evening on our A+ for Kids special, but she ran into some holiday traffic, and we expect her here shortly. But right now, she is in a traffic jam on her way to our studios. She says to her students, "You must learn, and you will learn." Can you push students too hard, or do you get what you expect from your students? We have some people on our panel today that I'd like to introduce you to. Joseph Schenker is the president of Bank Street College of Early Education, and Dr. Howard Hurwitz was a principal and teacher for 40 years in the New York City school system. He's a nationally syndicated columnist and author of 11 books, including The Last Angry Principal. Please welcome them to our show today. Dr. Hurwitz, let me start with you. The last angry principal, why are you angry?
Well, I'm not angry at the moment, not after this kind reception, but I'm angry because for most of the 40 years that I spent in the New York City public schools, I was proud of the school system. I felt that I was a participant in one of the greatest school systems in the United States, if not the world, and I'm world traveled. But in the past 20 years, I have observed an almost toboggan-like slide of the public schools in the city of New York, so that only a few weeks ago, the mayor of the city of New York called the public schools a disgrace. And the president of the Board of Education agreed. And only last week, I listened to the president of the city council, who said that our public schools are disgusting.
Okay, if I may, can I just focus you on what we just saw, though? Because everybody admits we have problems with inner-city school systems. Yes. Here we have a school where 95% of the kids are accepted to college, where many of them go to Ivy League schools, where there's a 1% dropout rate in this high school, where there's a very low truancy rate. Here's something that's working.
This is splendid. And if this system, which was described, this school, could be replicated in the rest of New York, and in the 300 metropolitan centers in the United States, I would be the happiest guy in town.
Why can't we do that?
Because you cannot achieve the kind of investment in personnel. For example, this school, the Randolph School, probably is twice as expensive to administer as some of the other schools in the city. It's a campus school. And one of the purposes of a campus school is to make it available to the college students at City College who want to become teachers and who observe classes. But one of the liabilities, unintentional, of the campus school is that the young people coming in to practice teach there and to observe get a rather unusual idea as to what's going on in the rest of the system. Because in the rest of the system, as the UFT, the United Federation of Teachers, has documented abundantly, the discipline is very poor. It remains the #1 problem in the country along with drugs. And the behavior of many students, assaults on teachers, assaults on students, a lot of graffiti, which didn't exist in this school, a non-learning atmosphere, which existed in this school. This is very hard to come by, and I see no likelihood, although I certainly wish it would happen, for it to develop along these lines.
All right, but Mrs. Taylor seemed to be able to turn this around. She has rules. The students know what the rules are. They know what is expected of them. One teacher in that documentary said, maybe she pushes these kids too hard. Mr. Schenker, can you push kids too hard?
No, I don't think you can, and I disagree with Dr. Horowitz. I think examples of this sort have been replicated. The Middle College High School at LaGuardia Community College in Queens is working with students at high risk, and 85% are graduating.
Is it more costly?
No, it is not more costly. I think if you deal with what motivates students, then students will learn. If you have an atmosphere where students are respected, then the students will learn. People talk about sort of the college football athlete who's considered dumb. That student is not dumb. He goes out, he learns complicated plays, and in the middle of a winter storm, the quarterback says some numbers like 42x red. He remembers them because he wanted to remember them. If the students are motivated, if they're involved, if their curiosity is tapped, they will learn in any setting.
I have some teachers out here from the school. Where are the teachers from A.Philip Randolph? No? You're a parent? Are there teachers out here, I was told? No? We have no representatives in the audience. I was told before. Oh. I'm sorry, what? You do attend this school, though, don't you? We're going to be seeing you later on in the broadcast. I know you can't compare this to anything else, but why do you think this school is so special?
Because our principal cares, our parents care, and we care. And we want to make something of ourselves no matter what, no matter how many odds are against us. We will succeed, and we know it. We are going to excel.
You are going to excel?
Definitely.
And where does it come from, though? Where does that desire to excel?
It comes from different places, from different people. Mine comes from my community. I live in Harlem. And every time I walk out my building, I see people who are on crack or selling drugs or something, and I say, I have to do something. And when they look at me, they say, could Eugene, it's up to you. And I say, you know, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it. I am going to do it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I saw some of the students over here, though, snickering and laughing when they saw that telephone system that would wake you up if you weren't coming to school. How would you like that? How would you like a principal who called you at home and said, hey, get out of bed, you're going to be late?
I would hate it.
You would hate it. You would hate it, but you'd probably get to school, wouldn't you?
Probably not.
Oh, no, maybe they would. Maybe if teachers pushed a little bit more and expected a little bit more, and parents did, rather than making excuses for why kids can't learn. Is that part of the problem, as you see it, Dr. Hurwitz?
Yes, of course. But I certainly believe that every child should be expected to achieve to the limits of his ability. And you should certainly hold out a goal that's somewhat higher than his own expectations. All of this that I've seen here is very fine. Obviously, the teachers and the principal have aspirations for the students. The students are trying to live up, and this is very good. And I wish I had the optimism that Dr. Schenker has, because it would certainly relieve my attitude. I am still very active in the field of education. I have no desire to see the toboggan continue on the down. There is some evidence that there's a turnaround, but it could be a very slow turnaround. But the possibility of replicating this nationwide, because remember, we're dealing with New York and New Jersey right now, but we've got the whole United States. From everything I know, and I have contacts all over the country, would make it appear very difficult, almost remote, but we must continue to try.
But this country has I have to take a break right now, but this country has accomplished many things. In the early 60s, John F. Kennedy said, by the end of this decade, I want to put a man on the moon. And everybody thought, that's science fiction, it'll never happen. In 1969, we had a man walking on the moon. When this country puts its mind to something and says this is what's important, we have the imagination, the willpower, and the money to make it happen. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to take a look at what goes on inside the classrooms at A.Philip Randolph. Don't go away.
In 420 BC, a scholar for all time advanced the concept of learning one-to-one. A teacher like Socrates may only come along once every 2,000 years. But a product like Socrates could only come from video technology. Socrates, the educational video system. At Video Technology, we believe learning is serious business.
Before we got PSE&G's free home energy survey,
we felt like we lived in a wind tunnel.
We're the Walkers from Teaneck, New Jersey.
PSE&G customers, and we thought we did everything to cut our energy cost.
Until we called PSE&G. They checked everything from top to bottom.
And we solved our draft problems.
And made our home more comfortable.
Seal up.
For comfort.
And save.
For your free home energy survey, call 1-800-854-4444.
Hello, I'm Michael Rourke of A&P. Our company headquarters are in New Jersey, but we operate supermarkets in 25 states. More than 83,000 people work for our company, and we know the importance of a strong system of public education. When our kids finish school with the skills they need, we're all better off. That's why A&P is proud to sponsor WWOR-TV's A+ for Kids project. Improving education gives us all a proud new feeling.
Good evening, I'm Reg Wells, and coming up tonight at 10, Arab nations react with anger over the decision to bar Yasser Arafat from New York. Fire breaks out in the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Guests are forced out into the street. Details tonight at 10.
Of the nearly 2.5 million high school students who are going to graduate this year, it's estimated that up to a quarter of them will be functionally illiterate. That means they'll not be able to read or write at even an 8th grade level. As we enter the 21st century, it's even more important that our students graduate with skills that enable our economy to remain competitive. Especially true for our minority students, for between now and the year 2000, more than half of all new workers hired will be minorities, nearly 3 times the current rate. The jobs that they're going to take on are going to require skills far beyond the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, and so will their education.
Monday afternoon, 2:30, school bells around the city ring in the end of the school day. But not here at A.Philip Randolph. When the bell rings here at 2:30, it means one thing: time for the next class. Students here are required to take one more period a day than most other New York high school students. And they're required to take more credits in order to graduate. It's that kind of extra push, going beyond the basic minimums, that makes this school excel where so many others in New York City fail.
Okay, now I don't want to spoil your day, but I want you to imagine that the Third World War has just started.
The curriculum here is designed to challenge. To graduate, students must take 4 years of English, math, science, and a foreign language, plus a year of computer science.
Most courts and authorities routinely rule in the favor of petitioners who want to...
In addition to being drilled in reading and writing, students are drilled in literature, too, from Dickens to Dostoevsky. Every senior is required to take at least one college-level course. The best and the brightest take even more.
The teacher tells them, well, you're doing this wrong, you need help, I don't know how to help you anymore. That gives them the push to do better.
Gabrielle Carter and Regina Joseph are two of the best and brightest who want to become teachers. After taking this class on the City College campus, they walk to nearby PS 161 in Harlem. There, they help teachers like Byron Broderick in his 4th grade math class.
1 times 1, 2. Sometimes 1 is not 2. Oh, 1 times 1.
This is the 3rd year I've had students from Campus High School, and they're always very prompt. They're very hardworking, they're creative. They have great rapport with the children they teach and with the teachers.
This always makes me feel important because they look up to you and they say, oh, can you help me with this? You feel very responsible. When you tell them, well, you do it this way, and they don't learn, you feel, well, it's my fault that they're not learning. And you try harder to get them to learn, and they respond.
Well, this class prepares us to deal with children and everything, and how to maneuver the class to do what you want and to learn the things that you have to teach them.
And to the kids these kids teach, there is an instant connection.
I like her really much because she teaches me a lot of things that I don't know. Teaches me a lot of things I don't know.
Like what?
Like math, multiplication, subtraction.
So you learn a lot from her?
Yeah.
Another cornerstone of the curriculum here is community service. Each student is required to put in 80 hours as volunteers around the neighborhood in order to graduate. Principal Taylor thinks it's the best way she can teach her kids to fight back against the welfare mentality, a way of instilling in them a civic consciousness they could not learn from a textbook. For the principal, the priorities are clear.
That they are exposed to learning beyond what goes into school, that they know what it means to have community give back, they know what it means to help other human beings, that they have a sense of responsibility for themselves, for their city, for their families, so that they can have a better world and contribute to making a better world.
I would like you to look at Table C and tell me what the boiling point of nitrogen is.
Many campus students will make their contributions in their professions. And here they prepare for those professions in programs like pre-med and pre-engineering.
She's got a rotifer, and she's got the collopidium, and she's got paramecium scooting by there occasionally.
The real gem of Randolph's professional curriculum is the Macy Medical Program. Each year, 100 students are selected out of 3,600 applicants. The program is paid for by a grant from the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation. Students must go far beyond the normal course load, tackling subjects like biochemistry and bacteriology.
At 6 paramecium is 1,800, right? Oh, you guys catch on fast.
And the results are simply staggering. 96% of last year's Macy program graduates got into college, many into competitive 4-year schools such as Harvard, Yale, and MIT.
5, 6, 7.
As much emphasis is put on the style of teaching in this school as is put into the curriculum itself. Take this advanced placement biology class, for instance. Instead of listening to a lecture, students split off into small groups.
We do it ourselves. It's not like someone does it for us, and we figure it out all the answers for ourselves. So I think it's more of a discovery.
It is based on the Piaget approach to learning, and that students learn through discovery. They also learn by sharing with their peers the thought processes that they use to come to conclusions in problem solving.
You remember a lot more by doing it yourself.
This don't look like 7.
It's a lot, I don't know, you get the feel of it. When you take a test, you understand it better because you remember what you were doing.
You need to just increase the population, and if you take this man here, the militant, the law student is not going to go without the white.
The same technique is used here in this language of argument class. It's a debate class of sorts where students learn to think on their feet and develop critical thinking skills.
How does it help your thinking skills? Do you think it has?
Yes, because it makes you also think about, things you might not have, like if you have a particular argument or something you don't agree with, it makes you think about the other side of it.
When teachers and administrators talk about what goes on in the classrooms here, they talk about reasoning and critical thinking, two things that you'll hear over and over again.
You will see youngsters being challenged to analyze, to explain, to give a basis, to give the rationale for their responses, or to set up a problem or an experiment, or to discover an answer. All of that is critical thinking.
It's that kind of approach that makes this school so attractive. Every year, 6,000 students from all 5 boroughs apply for admission here. Only 400 are accepted, and every single one of them knows the simple reason why.
We are all here to help our children be successful. That is our main purpose for coming to school.
To those of us outside the educational system, the whole process of learning could seem almost magical. Sometimes it's like a light bulb goes over your head. Eureka! I know the idea, I got it. Sometimes you learn things, you don't even realize that you're learning them. Sometimes you don't even realize that you've learned them until years later. But the process of learning is something that teachers have to explore. And the amount of energy and time we put into that process is something we're going to be discussing during this segment. In addition to our panel is Dr. Dorothy Strickland. She's a PhD from Teachers College at Columbia University. Please welcome her to the show. Do we place enough importance on learning, enough time on it? At A.Philip Randolph, we just saw they have an extra period of school day where they spend more time learning. In other countries, it seems that they spend more time in the classroom. U.S. students go to school 180 days a year. In France, they go to school 220 days a year. In Japan, they go to school 240 days a year. That seems like almost the complete year. And I know sometimes they go to school on Saturdays in Japan, and after they get out of school, they go to another school so they can get into college after school. Right. Should we spend more time, Dr. Strickland, concentrating on the classroom, on students in the classroom?
Well, we know that the more time we spend on anything, the more likely we are able to achieve in it.
Well, why do we shut down schools in the summertime?
Well, time in itself is not the critical issue. It's what is occurring during that time that's really key. And I think that's what we really need to focus on first. We should also note that in Japan in particular, much of that time is spent on other activities besides what we normally consider as academic activities. They, just as in A.Philip Randolph School, seem to be concerned with the whole child, so that art and music and physical education is actually a large part of that time that they spend. So it's not all in what is usually considered academic subjects.
People have an idea, and there seems to there has to have been, in the last few years, a backlash against some of the progressive ideas in education. People say, let's get back to the basics. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's what they taught us. They taught us the alphabet. They taught us how to add and subtract. Forget all this theoretical stuff, and let's get back to the basics. Is there value in that or not?
We've done a wonderful job at getting back at the basics, and unfortunately, too often that's all our students know. They know how to compute at the very lowest levels. They know how to regurgitate information from books that they've read, but not really to acquire those critical kinds of skills, critical thinking skills, where they have to apply information, infer, do problem solving. So we've done a very, very good job at what we call the basics. And often we think that we need to acquire those before we can go on to higher order thinking skills, when actually what needs to be done is they need to be taught in conjunction with one another.
All right, we've talked about a few ideas here. Critical thinking, lengthening the school day or the school year. How do you gentlemen feel about this?
Well, I think that the issue is not so much adding more hours to the school day. It is what is the quality of those hours. Are we adding to the curriculum in terms of music or another hard science? Are we engaging the students in activities such as the school newspaper or community service? So I think adding time alone is not the real answer, but adding time with a quality component can make a difference.
But Dr. Hurwitz, where does this idea come that we don't have education in the summertime, that we have a vacation from education?
Well, actually, a great many students do attend summer school throughout the country. But the short school year that we have has its historical roots in our agricultural economy, going back 100 years or more, when people, farmers, kept their children at home during the growing season, and so they were denied an education, which caused the compulsory education laws, and the 180 to 190-day school year, which prevails in the United States in contrast to other countries. But, as has been said here, merely lengthening the school year is not the answer. It depends upon what is going on during the school year. And if you have a poor teaching staff, lengthening the school day or the school year serves no purpose. In fact, one of the fundamental problems we face in American education today is that the teachers coming into the school system, and incidentally, within the next 6 years, we shall have to replace 1/2 of the 2.3 million teachers in the United States, according to the U.S. Office of Education.
Okay, but what's wrong with the teachers coming in now?
What is wrong is that almost all of them are selected from the bottom of the college barrel because teaching has ceased to be a desirable profession. There was a time when 90% of the elementary school staff was composed of women, and they did a superb job. But now women have abundant opportunities outside of the school, and from what they hear of the school, and much of it is real information, why should a capable woman, or a capable man for that matter, knock himself out in an inner-city school when he can go into business or professions and not experience the trauma which is so characteristic of much of public education in this country?
Right, why? Dr. Strickland, maybe you can give me an answer.
I can say with a great deal of assurance that that description that was just given is certainly one that is changing rapidly. New incentives, both in terms of pay and also new directions in the field of education are causing many very bright, very committed young people to come into the field today, people who truly want to serve. And so I'm not as gloomy at all as Dr.
I have a
Hurwitz.
phone call here right now. Good morning, you're on the air. Speak out.
Yes, good morning.
Afternoon, actually.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
well, yeah,
Or
good
evening.
afternoon.
We can work up the whole day now.
Yes, I live in Brooklyn, and I'm a single parent of a 6-year-old,
Yes, if we can lift the volume on this, I'll be able to hear you a lot better, please. You don't have to do this, but in the control room, if they will do that.
Okay.
Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a parent of a 6.5-year-old son who's made the gifted program since he's been in school. And I'm directing my question to anyone that thinks that you should not push a child. I think that you should and you have to. It's the only way to know how far not to push a child is to push them in the first place. And my son is in gifted program, a satellite program in Brooklyn, and he's made it. And all the teachers, since he's been in school a 1.5 years, have come to me and says, Ms. Curvin, your son is exceptionally bright. You and your husband must be proud.
Do you push your child?
I push him. I push him and I ask him.
Well, what do you say to your child when he says, or he or she says, I can't do this?
I said, there's no such thing as you can't. I tell him, I know what you can't do. You can't fly. You can't jump. You can't do certain things. I said, I know what you can't do, but I know that you can do this. And if you try, you can. And every time he does, he'll come and hug me and say, thank you, Mommy.
Well, I'm sure that someday your child will grow up and thank you for all that, because I could thank my parents for giving me the same sort of direction. Thank you very much for calling us this evening. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Music and songs, spelling, art and computer drawing, word games like search and scramble, word skills, math and math games for two. Socrates, with over 90 built-in educational programs. Now, instead of just watching TV, your child can learn from TV. Socrates turns your TV into a learning center with over 90 built-in programs. Socrates, learning one-to-one.
If you heat with electricity or oil, Jersey Central Power and Light Company has energy-saving options that will keep your family comfortable and save you money no matter what the season. A free home energy survey will show you how to make your home more energy efficient. If you qualify, you can get a zero or low-interest home energy loan to finance the recommended measures. Our Wrap-Up Seal-Up program provides a contractor to install energy-saving options for a nominal charge. Jersey Central. We're offering you options for savings.
Share the feeling, ooh, that feeling, a proud new feeling, a proud new feeling.
A&P's got the feeling for what you want, and that makes your A&P part of New York's #1 family of food stores.
Come share the proud new feeling, share that feeling, A&P.
French fries, you gotta move down the other end. I got coffee if I got pastrami. Have it tomato. Pickles. That's mine. Pickles, thank you very much. Who ordered the pastrami?
Must be time for Rollin Smith.
It must be time for Rollin Smith. Weeknights at 10 on Channel 9 News.
Some aspects of living in New York City are cold and cruel. And statistically, you might believe that if you are young and black, because consider this. If you're black between the ages of 5 and 19 and living in New York, chances are 1 in 3 that you will be murdered, statistically speaking. If you do survive, chances are 1 in 2 that you will drop out of school. Now, statistics like these are sobering, and they make the challenge of minority education even greater at schools like A.Philip Randolph, where most of the students are black. But they meet that challenge by giving their students support beyond the classroom, support that helps them cope when the problems of the city threaten to become the problems of the school.
A lot of problems in the inner city, and they have nothing to do with school. And you want the youngsters to know that there's one place that they can go that's a safe haven. And for the period of time that they're there, all of those problems disappear. Ah, gentlemen, thank you. Fine, how you doing? Let's go.
Principal Lottie Taylor walks the line, day in and day out. It's a line between the world outside Randolph High, of sometimes mean streets and broken homes, and the world inside. When her kids cross that line, when the problems of the home become the problems of the homeroom, they do have a place to turn. Here at Randolph High, there is a carefully constructed support system designed to help students stay focused on school. And it all begins with the basics, food.
I leave my house around 7. I have to start school at 8:15. My mother doesn't have any time to cook any breakfast for me. So I come over here and I get my free breakfast. And I eat very well, so I enjoy it.
Alberto Crespo is one of many students who takes advantage of the school's breakfast and lunch programs. It's a federally subsidized program based on income and family size. For those who qualify, meals range from no cost to 25 cents. For some children whose parents both work, it's often the only way for them to get breakfast at all. And it's an added incentive to get to school on time. The students even get to help plan the meals with nutritionist Edith Rhodes.
Well, if you have any ideas or suggestions, don't hesitate to let me know. If students have breakfast, it has been proven that they will do better in the classroom.
Does this breakfast give you a really good start to your day?
Yeah, because sometimes I'm real tired. When I come, it helps me. And then I'm not sleeping in class most of the time.
The school not only nourishes the body and mind, but the spirit as well. Beginning freshman year, each student is assigned a guidance counselor. Many students keep the same counselor for all 4 years. That's one reason this system seems to work so well. Another is the guidance counselor's caseload, 175 students at Randolph compared to about 500 per counselor at other city schools. While the counselors help students plan their academic programs, they do much more than that. A student knows that at any time, he or she can come for counseling on any number of personal problems.
A good guidance counselor helps to create the tone and the environment for your school that's essential for student success. They operate as advocates for children. Guidance counselors can establish those values through group guidance services, through teaching strategies that youngsters need to have to be successful in life.
It has come to my attention that you have not been working up to your potentials in class. You seem bored and you're not doing your work on time and your homework has been turned in. What is wrong?
I don't feel challenged enough, and the work that I'm getting is not up to my potential. I want more.
One strategy the Randolph counselors use is role-playing. Here, student Dahlia Joseph is acting out a problem she's having with one of her teachers, played by Rosangeles Tavares. Counselor Margaret Ketley says this technique helps students to deal with their problems.
How did you feel being in the authority-like figure of the teacher?
Well, I got to see a different side, which we don't always see as the student, because usually when we're the students, we're always trying to say the teacher's not fair, she doesn't give us a chance. But once we would set ourselves to the role or the side of the teacher, we see that the teacher usually wants the best for us.
I feel as a student that you should be able to talk to your teacher and confront yourself in saying, well, I don't understand this, or I want to get this done. You should always feel free to talk to your teacher in whatever concern, whatever is negative or positive. Let them know that you care.
Counselors and students can also work on a one-to-one basis, a system which fosters trust between the student and the counselor as their relationship grows.
My guidance counselor is like a friend to me. She has helped me through some tough times that I've had through the past 2 years. And all I can say is I really am grateful to her.
When senior Margaret Michelle had some serious family problems, she turned to guidance counselor Rita Coring.
Well, if she came in and had problems, we talked. And sometimes I'd just pass her in the hall and give her a hug. I don't know. She's an easy child to help, an easy child to love. If she wanted help, she asked for it.
In the past 2 years, me and my mother got separated, and I've been living with my aunt. In the beginning of that, it was a little rocky for me, and I needed my guidance counselor there to support me, to help me through it. Her being there helped smooth out the rocky ways, helped give me the encouragement I need to keep going.
Another way in which this school seeks to encourage its students is through an organized system of parental involvement. Students and their parents are all required to sign course contracts. They explain what is required in terms of classwork, homework, reports, and tests. Teachers send parents continuous progress reports on their children, in addition to report cards that go home 6 times a year. And parents are invited to a number of school functions to keep the dialogue going.
First, we had decided that we would make an attempt to improve student achievement on the Regents examinations.
Several times each year, Principal Taylor holds school improvement meetings with parents, teachers, administrators, and students. There, they assess the needs and goals of the school. This cooperative, rather than adversarial relationship between the parents and the school, is an important ingredient in its success. William Boone of the Parent Teachers Association.
It helps the child tremendous. And they see that I'm involved. If I get involved with all the aspects of school, it gives the student, or my daughter in this case, more incentives to do well.
In fact, some studies have gone a step further. They suggest that parental involvement not only provides students with more incentive to do well, but that it's the most important factor in their doing well. Parents like Lillian Phillips agree.
I think it has a tremendous influence for the students to see their parents involved in the educational process of their lives. I feel that they feel better about themselves when their parents are involved in school also, not just home, but also in school.
But the challenge at Randolph is still great, especially considering the fact that so many of these kids come from single-parent homes. 15% of the school's parents belong to the PTA. Now, that may sound low, but Mrs. Taylor estimates it's higher than 97% of the city's other public high schools. And here at Randolph, parents are involved far beyond the PTA. Many sit on an educational committee that reviews textbooks, curriculum changes, and school policies. Together, parents and teachers work toward a common goal, to create an environment of success for the students.
I just believe that you have to try to create a utopian place to the best of your ability for kids, because they are our future, and if we don't try to protect them, and they're rather fragile, we'll destroy our own future.
The educational nurturing of young people involves a lot more than just opening up a book or pushing a pencil. as you're seeing tonight. Let me introduce two members of our panel who are joining us. Robert Howard is a guidance counselor for 17 years. Currently, he's guidance counselor at Bloomfield High School in New Jersey. And finally, overcoming traffic, Lottie Taylor, the principal of A.Philip Randolph High School, is joining us tonight. Thanks, we're glad you could finally make it here. If there was one principle, or is there a principle that imbues everything else that is done at the school, that it motivates your educational policy there? If you were to take a shingle and hang it up on your wall, could you think of anything?
Yes, excuse me. I think that the main philosophy that I have is that I believe that all children can learn, and all children will learn, and they must learn in the appropriate educational setting. And the extent to which these youngsters learn will depend on we, the leadership, how we feel about the fact that they haven't learned so far. And that if you treat a child the way he comes to you, that's the way he's going to leave you. But if you treat him the way he ought to be and the way you want to have him, then that's the way he is going to turn out.
So you never meet a student who cannot be reached, who is a dropout, and you just cannot do anything for him. You cannot get him back on the road. There are no failures?
I don't believe in never, and I don't believe in can't. I believe that as life gives the youngsters the problems that they have, that as adults we have an obligation to help them overcome, and that success in learning does not necessarily depend upon the criteria or problems that you have in life. I think they can be separate, and I think that we can train our youngsters, and they can learn.
And we look here, when some people say, well, what if they don't get out of bed in the morning? What if there's a truancy rate? You can't get them at home. You get them with a computer.
I call them. I have a wake-up call. And for those youngsters who have difficulty coming in to school, I call them beginning at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, and there's a wake-up tune that I've programmed to go through the computer for them.
Okay, what about dropouts, though? We have such a high dropout rate in our New York City public school system. Why are so many students dropping out, but not at your school?
I think it's a tone that you have to set in the environment where the youngsters to be educated. We have less than 1.8% dropout rate.
And the rate in the city
is
what,
sorry,
30%?
Well, some say 60, some say 30%. I don't want to lose a child. Every child is that important, and I'm really concerned about the 1.8%. And we want our youngsters to know that we will do everything that we possibly can to help them be total individuals when they come into that building. And that's from taking care of the mental, the physical, the emotional problems that they may have while we exercise our expertise in our profession, and that is, we teach.
Mr. Howard, you've been a guidance counselor for 17 years. I was in high school 19 years ago. I remember guidance counselors when I was in high school. Basically, you went to them and you said, what college should I go to? They were the guy that sat there with a cup of coffee and sat around and said, well, you know, you can go to this school or that school. They helped you with your application. Has it changed a lot?
I hope so. I think, Richard, that the problem with guidance in counseling is that the student counseling ratio in most schools is very high. And therefore, I think that the most important thing that a counselor can do is make himself, herself visible and available to as many students as possible. I think that that's the key. You have to be around.
What about personal problems? I mean, there seem to be other problems that children have today in our society that they didn't have maybe 20 years ago. Do you get involved in those problems, too?
Yeah, that's a primary role for guidance counselors, and what's becoming more important increasingly is to get involved with parents. Because without parental involvement, those problems are very difficult, if not impossible, to solve. I find that in my counseling practice, I become much more involved than ever before with the home.
Okay, I have some questions out here in the audience. Let me just get to a few of them. Yes?
Hello, my name's Josh Horwitz, and I go to West Essex Regional High School in New Jersey. I have a question for Mrs. Taylor, please. Your school, it's for applicants only, and how can you compare your school to the rest of the schools in the city when you only have the elite going to your school? You talk about how you have a low dropout rate. Well, you have the best and the brightest in your school, and I'd just like an answer to that, please.
Is that true, Lottie?
No, it isn't quite so. I think that my school is for all children who want to learn. We're a New York City public high school.
How are they chosen?
And, well, the students select the school. And we do have 76% black, 23% Hispanic, 1% white, and 1% Asian, we are certainly open to all youngsters who want to come to learn. So when you self-select and you choose not to go to an institution that provides the kind of academic training, it is not the school's responsibility, it is the society's responsibility, and it is your responsibility to seek out those institutions that are willing to teach you. Because when you come to Randolph, you are a Randolph student, and there is no color to that. Secondly, your perception that I have the best and the brightest, I think, belies the fact that one wants to believe that only those who learn are in a certain socioeconomic certain socioeconomic background. And we happen to know that that is not true. That children who come from homes where there are parents who may be abusers or who may have other problems do not impact upon that child's ability to learn. The only thing that matters is whether or not we teach them, and how we teach them, and what we teach them. And that is the key to learning.
We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll take another look at how students are taught at A.Philip Randolph High School.
In today's classrooms, there's not much room for individual attention. Introducing Socrates, the complete educational video system that turns your TV into a private learning center. Socrates stimulates your child and helps him learn about math, spelling, music, grammar, art, and more. With Socrates, your child's mind is given the attention it deserves. Socrates from Video Technology. Learning one-to-one.
Before we called PSC&G,
our house felt like a meat locker.
We're the Drurys from Maplewood, New Jersey.
PSE&G customers, and we didn't want a bank loan for energy-saving improvements.
So we called PSC&G and got an interest-free loan.
We used the money for new storm windows, which helped to keep the cold air out
and the warm air in.
Seal up.
For comfort.
And save.
For low interest and interest-free loans, call 1-800-854-4444.
Two divorced moms hoping to share one house.
We'll have a great time, trust me. Oh, the last person that said that fathered my 2 children, then left me.
Their kids are looking for the best.
I don't think she's wearing anything.
Give me my binoculars.
But these ladies are shooting for the stars.
I want to look like a movie star. I'd settle for looking like a movie usher.
It's a motherload of comedy.
Another fine mess you've gotten me into.
On Kate and Alley.
Weeknights at 7:30, right here on Channel 9.
If you're a parent, you should belong to the National PTA.
Remember, kids are counting on you, and the PTA can make being a parent a lot easier.
Join the PTA.
Good evening. Tonight on Channel 9 News, 2 embattled school board members in the Bronx say they'll now cooperate with authorities. A 30-year-old retarded man missing since Thanksgiving Day is found. We'll have details tonight at 10.
A school, of course, is made up of more than just bricks and mortar, books and lesson plans. The true character of any school really comes from the people that are inside that school. We'd like you to meet a few of the people who represent the real spirit of the A.Philip Randolph Campus High, a spirit that inspired us, and hopefully it'll inspire you too.
What do you think is the special interest of the National Rifle Association?
When Richard Williams speaks, students listen.
And on the basis of this reading, what do you think it is, Miss Sharita Davis?
Richard Williams is living a dream. He was born and bred on the streets of Harlem and always dreamed of becoming a history teacher.
History deals not only with past events, but it deals a great deal with the present. And I truly believe that it's the foundation of all other disciplines.
Williams first came to Randolph 7 years ago. Since then, he was named Randolph's Teacher of the Year and New York City's Teacher of the Year. His booming voice and physical presence make him a force to be reckoned with in the classroom.
I demand a great deal of myself, but I also demand that the students achieve more than I did. I feel that part of a teacher's job, I think the biggest part, is to push students to a higher level than the teacher. I want them to go beyond intellectually, to go beyond socially, go beyond even in terms of their commitment to the community. And if a teacher can't push students to be more than the teacher, there's no reason to be in that classroom.
William's sense of community is a constant theme of his teaching.
I think that given the problems that are here in the community and given the potential and the promise, that these students can make a tremendous contribution. I live in the Harlem community, and there are real problems here. The students can make a contribution as members of the community by investing in it as people who live here. This is their community. They have to be concerned. What we're trying to inculcate in this school is students having that same kind of commitment, that it is their community. And however goes the community, so goes their future.
No matter whom you ask at Randolph High, they'll tell you that Williams is more than just a talented teacher. His principal and his students will tell you he's a top taskmaster as well.
If you miss Rich's class, he is known to go to your home and ring your doorbell to say, "Son, I missed you. Where were you today?"
He has a manner that makes you want to do the homework. I mean, because if you don't do the homework, you're like sort of like afraid of what he's going to do the next day.
How does he make you learn?
It's like his mannerism. His voice. He has a voice that just do the work.
I intentionally did not let you see the title that is given to this set of readings.
I want them to do more than just get the grade. They have to be able to function, because this is what the society is going to demand, and this is what their neighborhood requires as well. If I want students to be able to think, I have to make sure that the classroom environment presents them with a challenge where they will be called on to think. So the exercises that we go through in the classroom really are geared towards thinking, rather than rote education repeating what is said. I want to be able to say that the students that I worked with, I gave them 100%. But more importantly, that I helped turn out a generation of individuals whom are committed.
I was getting into a lot of fights. I didn't speak correct English. I spoke broken slang. I failed 5 out of the 8 classes that I was taking last year.
15-year-old sophomore Jermaine Jackson. He's a kid who's making a comeback.
I had a lot of problems, but now I solved them and solved some of them. And I think I came out on top.
Jermaine is now in his 2nd year at A.Philip Randolph and a solid B student in the school's technical program. He comes from a family of 4 that lives in Harlem, and like so many of the families of his friends, it's a family without a father.
I never met my real father. Him and my mother separated when I was born. And I had a stepfather, but that didn't work out with my mother. Me and my stepfather didn't really get along. Then him and my mother went through a separation, and I had a difficult time handling that.
Through hard work and a good attitude, Jermaine has changed his life, from a life of failure to a life with a future. But still he must deal with the present and a home life that haunts him. Listen as he talks candidly about his relationship with his mother.
I hardly speak to her now. She comes home, I say, "Hi, Mom, how you doing?" And that's the end of conversation for the night. And she comes into my room in the morning and wakes me up. And I get up and go to school. And that's it. That's our conversation for the day.
And here lies the essence of a good school like A.Philip Randolph, the ability to transform basically good kids like Jermaine by giving them the attention they might not always get at home.
My mother knows my potential, and I think she's proud of me. I'm not sure. I still love her even though we fight a lot, but she doesn't help me all that much in school. So I think this school is like a parent to me. A parent. It's like a family.
Is the school kind of like your home away from home?
Yes. I think so, because it's really people here that care more for me than around where I live.
For Jermaine Jackson, school is everything. He knows he has to focus on a future that goes beyond his friends from the neighborhood.
My friends aren't really so-called friends. They'll turn on a person in a minute. They like to fight. Some of them sell drugs. So I don't really stay around my friends that much.
Instead, Jermaine sets his sights on becoming an architect or an engineer. He's a talented artist who dreams through his drawings.
When I draw, I can't describe the feeling. I draw in all types of emotions. I draw when I'm mad. I draw what I feel. I started drawing since I was a little kid. My mother always helped me when it comes to art. She'll help me in a minute. I know she wants me to do well, but she just can't seem to say it.
But at Randolph High, there are plenty of people who want Jermaine to do well and will say it. It's a basic premise of the program here. Make every kid, regardless of circumstance, feel like he's the most important kid in the world. Do that, the thinking goes, and you'll bring out the best in each of them.
Before high school, I didn't know what I really wanted to be. I just knew I could draw, and that was it. When I came to high school, they made me realize that I could do more than draw. I have a mind, also. It made me feel good about myself, about me. The teachers, they gave me guidance. They were like my parents, and some were also friends.
And with that kind of caring, Jermaine has blossomed into a kid with confidence, a boy who is pushed by pride.
When I get into class, it's like I'm a different person. My teachers just bring out the best in me.
Hi. My neighborhood actually inspires me to become great.
133rd and Broadway in Harlem, home for 16-year-old senior Khadijah Sharif.
I'm constantly reminded that corruption is there, that drugs are there, that abuse is there, that my people are there, constantly being oppressed. So that's constantly there. So that makes me work even harder because I know that I have too much to do, and there's no time to waste.
Khadijah is a young woman in a hurry to make her mark. But her road to the top as one of this school's leading students wasn't without its obstacles.
When I first entered the school, it was rough because I came from a junior high school that wasn't known for academics. It wasn't known basically for anything except violence. So in a way, I had to prove that I was on top like everyone else was.
And prove herself, she did. Khadijah is president of the Honor Society and a member of the Student Council. And the list of extracurricular activities in which she participates each week would make most students tired just thinking about them. Khadijah is so special in so many ways. But in so many other ways, she is typical of the students at this school. Students who learn a lot more than just the 3 R's. She's a student with a social conscience.
I try to give back to my community like they've given to me. This school really promotes community service. This school has done so much community service for our community, for other communities, for areas. I mean, we've walked in walkathons to raise over $1,000 for Mother Hale. We've went out and supported different organizations.
Khadijah takes her studies as seriously as her social service. She plans on becoming a lawyer, an engineer, and maybe even a politician.
Do you want to be president?
Maybe.
You think you could be president?
Oh, sure. But hopefully I'm looking for an African-American man to be president first, you know, before I get there.
And if she does get there, she'll thank Randolph for the real-life lessons she's learned about discipline, diligence, and self-esteem.
In a way, you feel better about yourself because you constantly have people there pushing behind you to tell you that you can do it. And so a lot of times I think, oh, I can't do it. And then the teacher says, teacher, just hang in there, you know, tomorrow's another day. But I'm the type of person who says, well, I don't want to wait till tomorrow. I want to do it today because I might not be here tomorrow. So it helps you develop more character. It builds your character, definitely, being in school. It builds character because you learn to accept failure and can continue to go on. I love to be pushed to the limit. I know if people push me, I have so much more to give. I know I can do so much more, so I like to be pushed. I like to be challenged.
Like so many of the kids here at Randolph and in minority high schools across America, Khadijah comes from a single-parent family. But she's determined not to let her environment dictate her destiny.
So you want something better for yourself?
Not just for myself, for my people, for everybody, for the world. I think the world deserves better. And I have so much to offer. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm destined to offer all that I can and to contribute to the vast majority of the people.
And with her destiny, there are her dreams.
For there to be no more poverty, no more oppression. That's my biggest dream.
Is that what you think about when you walk through your own neighborhood?
Yeah. That's what I think about every night before I go to sleep. If I could just change the whole world and make everyone have enough food to eat, not just in the United States, the whole entire world, in all planets, if it's life on other planets, food on every planet, no oppression, equality, freedom, success, just everything.
If you heat with electricity or oil, Jersey Central Power and Light Company has energy-saving options that will keep your family comfortable and save you money no matter what the season. A free home energy survey will show you how to make your home more energy efficient. If you qualify, you can get a zero or low-interest home energy loan to finance the recommended measures. Our Wrap-Up Seal-Up program provides a contractor to install energy-saving options for a nominal charge. Jersey Central. We're offering you options for savings.
Share the feeling. Come on and catch a star. A&P's new Superstar Special. A proud new feeling. When the stars come up, prices come down with hundreds of specials every week and savings that keep adding up. All you gotta do is reach for the stars. Come share the proud new feeling. Share that feeling. A&P.
Welcome back, people, to our A+ for Kids special, actually. Lottie, there's been a lot of discussion out here in the audience, and during the breaks, people are saying, this must be a special school. They must screen them with IQ tests. They must have SAT scores. They must go out and give them some sort of testing which covers all different kinds of areas. Is there a basic criteria for the students that go to your school, a basic educational criteria that they must meet before they come?
No, our students select in the elementary school which high school they would like to attend in New York City. And we are not a specialized high school. We offer no admissions test. The students check off in the elementary school that they want to attend Randolph, and then they are put on a citywide computer system, and there's random selection. We give priority to District 5 in Harlem. 60% of our students come from the borough of Manhattan, 20% come from Bronx, and then 10% come from Brooklyn, 10% come from Queens and Staten Island.
What percentage are randomly selected by a computer?
All except for 200.
All except for
All
200.
And we have
there is one
1,500
difference.
youngsters.
These students want to go to school because they've made an effort to choose this school, right?
Well, it's a requirement in New York City public school system that all elementary students in the 8th grade check off the high school they want to attend.
Okay. I have a question here at the podium. Yes, speak out.
Yes, my name is Tim Campbell, and I'm from West Essex High School in New Jersey. And I'd like to ask you this question. Where do you draw the line on pushing your students? Because today, the teenage suicide rate, for example, has risen. American society today is a high-pressure atmosphere. I want to know, where do you draw the line?
Well, let me ask you a question before she answers that. Can you push somebody too hard in school?
I think you can.
Okay, Lottie?
I would hope that I don't push my students hard enough. When I look at the statistics of what is happening to us as a people, with 30.7% dropout rate, and when we have 54% of those youngsters dropping out are black and primarily males, I don't think I've pushed them hard enough and far enough. And of course, you can push someone to water, but you can't make them drink. And the fact that our students stay, they graduate, they go on to college, and I have the lowest dropout, one of the lowest dropout rates in New York City, I think speaks to the issue.
Okay, joining us right now is Ronald Castaldo. He's Assistant Director for Academy for the Advancement of Teaching and Management. It seems like high school has become more than just school. It's become almost an extended family, a part of the community, something that is more than just a place where you go and sit down and open up a book and push a pencil. Is it changing?
Not from my experience. The work that we do at the Academy with teachers consistently shows us that the teachers are concerned about the kids. And when you push kids too far, and you don't have a support network to support them and catch them and help them, maybe that's too far. But when you have those teachers who are there, who understand, who care, who support, and make that reach out for the learners, then you can push them as far as you can go. And that's what we find our teachers are doing.
Okay, and certainly it seems like at A.Philip Randolph that if somebody needs something, whether it's a good breakfast whether it's some guidance, or whether it's even a little bit of the moment in that discipline where you say, get out of bed in the morning, you're supposed to be in school. They're going to get it. Dr. Hurwitz, you have a problem with this?
Let's inject a note of realism into this discussion. I'm very well pleased with what I see with the A. Randolph High School.
And it really exists.
Yes, it really exists. But when someone tells me at the top of the program that the average scholastic aptitude test score of these students is 550, I'm telling you that according to the Educational Testing Service, that's 60% higher than the average black score of students who take the SATs. Now, what you have here is a good educational operation. I see a learning atmosphere in the school, school free
Okay,
from
well, what's your
graffiti,
problem? Because I'm pressed for time.
It is absolutely atypical. And a little reality would suggest that while this is very desirable, let's not go crazy over the idea of replicating this kind of black population elsewhere in the city or elsewhere in the States.
Why not, though? These students are selected by random computer.
Whatever may be random, they are coming in with inordinately high scores.
That is not the case, Dr. Hurwitz.
They're not coming, but they're not chosen by...
I don't know what you mean by 550 scholastic
I know what I
aptitude
mean.
test.
The maximum is 1,600, and 550 is a very high score
You're
on the
absolutely
SATs.
incorrect. The average SAT score for my school is 950 when my students go out, and most 50% of the students are over 1,000 combined score.
That's still
However,
very high.
the students coming in fall the complete range, and you fail to realize that black youngsters are no different than white youngsters or Hispanic youngsters. We all want the same thing in life. We want to be taught.
Yes,
and how high our scores go depends on how well we're taught and what we are taught.
I'm all for the aspirations.
I've got one more quick question over here. You can give me that question very quickly, please.
Yes,
Thank you.
Maria Nusatelli, Wayne Board of Education. My question is to Ms. Taylor. She indicated before that this is a New York City school. My question is the normal funding for a public school. How does this particular school get additional funds? Are there additional funds, and how is it funded?
Does it cost us more for this school?
No, it does not cost you more. As a matter of fact, I get less because I have been industrious enough to seek private foundation grants to the tune of $10 million from the Josiah Macy Foundation. I'm also have been industrious enough to be adopted by the U.S. Department of Labor. Has not cost you anything. I'm also industrious enough to be sponsored by the Christian A. Johnson Foundation. I'm also industrious enough to go out and get scholarship money from private resources to assist my students to go on to college. And therefore, I am penalized in terms of my normal budget from the board because the feeling is, you have a gold mine.
But it doesn't cost the taxpayer more.
Costs you less.
Okay. So far tonight, you've seen the success of the A.Philip Randolph High School in Harlem. And you've seen the direction those students are given towards a fulfilling future. But whoever said that you have to wait till high school to find that direction? We're going to turn our attention in a different area right now to a unique elementary school in Newark, New Jersey. A school that believes when it comes to education, the earlier the better. It's another example of a school that succeeds against the odds. It's a school whose successes of the 80s are born from the failures of the 60s.